I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 6:32. We're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, no, but he's on. Okay. So first up is to amend the agenda. Does anyone need to amend the agenda? We need to approve our previous minutes from January 14th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from January 14th of 26.
I second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, there is. I'm trying to see if I can find a copy. Do we have a copy of that in here? We don't.
I have a copy.
Okay, but there's a part that just kind of, I thought sounded a little odd. Let me see where it is. And it's only, maybe it's just not me. Let's see. I can find it.
Hey, Aaron, can you close the part that says people? Like there's a little X up there, maybe
So I can't find what it was, but it may have been corrected already. So that's okay. Oh, no, I do see it. It's under new business. It says, went over budget needs with the select board. And when I saw went over budget, it just kind of flipped in my head that we were talking about actually going over a budget. And I think maybe we meant to say we reviewed the budget. I just think it'd be clear to say reviewed rather than going over budget. I mean, I just clarity wise. We didn't go over budget, so I didn't want that to say.
Yes.
All right, so along with that change, Ryan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jeffrey?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Oh,
So we
Aye.
have one change. Oh, I'm sorry, Emma.
She moved.
I know, I was like, I see Ryan.
Sorry. Aye.
Are there any public comments for items not on the agenda? Come right up.
Hi, John.
That is where you want to sit.
Be here. My name is John McGovern from Windsor, and I just wanted to bring up the issue of this year, 2026, is the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country, the Declaration of Independence. And I know there are celebrations all over the country, and I presume here in Windsor. But I want to bring to the attention of the board something that they may be well aware of. Is the following year, 2026, 27, is the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Republic of Vermont, an event that occurred here in Windsor at Constitution House. And it seems to me that this might be a great occasion for the town of Windsor to shine, to do special events, be the center of attention for the whole state of Vermont, get the governor to come down, whoever. Yeah. And in order to do that, very short time between now and then, if some committee might be established to make plans for that. That's
Thank you, John. Yes, thank you, John.
very well.
Were there any other comments for items not on the agenda? All right, so in new business, we're going to start tonight with development. Is that all of the things underneath this? Or
That
separate?
is, those are all
Okay,
what developed.
gotcha.
So the first thing is Windsor Improvement Corporation, and we have several members, including Bob Flint. That must have been a fun ride, huh? The things you do. Somebody come up, sit here and be the spokesman, or all of you if you want.
I'd like to start, if I could, with Donna Slaney.
Sure, we'll get people settled and,
Okay.
hang on, Donna.
So, good afternoon, and forgive my absence in person, but I don't go out in snow anymore. After a broken hip, I'm still working on it. So, good afternoon, board and committee members, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us and to listen to WIC and learn more about what we've been doing and our activities this past year. Let me introduce to you members and the staff. With you, with us tonight is our downtown manager. She's sitting right next to Bob. Is Beth Culver, and then of course the SRDC director and WIC's manager is Bob Flynn. Along with Bob comes Michael Welker. He's the board treasurer and secretary, as well as the chair of the WIC marketing committee. And then there's me, Donna Swaney. I'm chair of the board. We've been very busy this year with a number of accomplishments and a number of ideas that are still working. And John McGovern, we are well aware of 2027, and we're working on it, and can use your help too. If you'd like to volunteer, let's talk, okay? And so anyhow, we have a number of accomplishments, and our members will discuss them with you. We have partnered with the town on various activities around beautification, holidays, decorations, planters, and much more. And I want to specifically thank Riley, who is just incredible. And anybody who knows Riley knows what a wonderful job she does. And Ernest, for all their assistance in the projects that we've done in town. We are, however, requesting that our funding be maintained at the current level of $50,000 for this coming year. So with that said, I would like to turn over the presentation to Bob Flint. Bob, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Donna. And hi again, everybody. Yeah, it is greasy outside. So anyways, happy to be here. Springfield Regional Development Corporation, as many of you know, is the regional development corporation that's part of Vermont. And so of the 50,000 that goes to WIC, 30 of that 50 flows to SRDC for doing services here in Windsor. And that's a number that hasn't changed in a very, very long time. So we work with businesses of any shape and size, whether it's somebody starting a business or the largest business in town. And we with WIC and the town have worked on some large projects this past year. Central and Maine comes immediately to mind on a day that was very unlike this one in July when there was the ribbon cutting. And that was the culmination of a multi-year process where WIC donated the land for this now 25-unit housing project to occur in the middle of Windsor. And we, along with Tom and others, helped Evernorth and Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust assemble the stack of funding to allow that project to occur and whatever other adventures we had along the way to the ribbon cutting. On the other end of Windsor, the other big project this year was the expansion of Lake Hill Preserves. That's a cool story because I first met Joe and Vicky at their kitchen table in Grafton, and they had a handful of people working for them in a little building down the hill from where they were, Lake Hill, and working with Terry McDonald to build the original building, which SRDC did build, and then seeing them grow to now they're up to 50 employees and a multi-million-dollar a year company in terms of sales. So that project, the expansion and so forth, was about a $2.5 million project. And we provided funding for that directly. The town of Windsor has some money in there, as well as funding from an area bank and Vita to help them do the building and do the expansion. As many of you know, one of our jobs for WIC is to manage real estate. So WIC owns the former Goodyear property, which is now the River Street Commerce Park, as well as the Windsor Resource Center. At the River Street Commerce Park this past year, we completed so Windsor has a designated downtown. You'll hear about that from Beth here in just a second. So because of that, properties within the downtown designation are eligible for state tax credits. So WIC received funding, about $40,000 from the state, to do code-related stuff and bring the buildings back up to code. So we completed that project this summer. And I guess the other thing I'll mention about River Street Commerce Park is the main building we call the Quonset hut, and then the one kind of further back on the left is we refer to as the maintenance building. So a gentleman moved his business and his family to Windsor this past year. He owns a house on Main Street, Richard Barrows, and brought his company Global Heritage to Windsor. The company has spent roughly probably $100,000 anyway in fixing up space in the maintenance building. And this week they approached us about additional space, which would be their third expansion in the year they've been in Windsor. So they do high-end historic preservation work globally, really. So, and cool to have Richard actually and his family having moved to Windsor. So it's been a pleasure to work with them on that. Heather Hartford from my staff does a lot of that work on the property. So that's just some high-level stuff that we've been involved with, and obviously provide support to WIC and all their subcommittees, including the marketing committee. Mike, I'll let you take it from there.
Thanks, Bob. As Donna said in her intro, I'm a WIC board member, serving both the treasurer and the chair of the marketing committee. I'll be speaking just about marketing, and I'll attempt to be brief. See a lot of familiar faces from last year, and both in terms of select board and the budget committee. So won't rehash all of the same points. So I don't expect you to remember everything I said last year, obviously, either. So the marketing committee is just that. It's a committee comprised mainly of WIC board members, supported by SRDC and our media manager, Beth, who will speak more about the downtown committee soon. We meet on a very regular basis. The things that we tackle are, I can break them down pretty easily, are digital promotions of the town, non-digital promoting of the town, and then we also maintain the website that we built on our own. So just to get into a little bit more on the digital side. One of our long-standing goals has been to try to promote the town via digital ad spend and sustain it over time. So for folks that are aware of that, certainly, we have some expertise amongst our group. But what we've done in the past, and what we're looking at doing this year, is also getting some help from a consultant. So we worked with that group when we produced a digital asset that I spoke about last year. That engagement was very fruitful for us, and we're going to be re-engaging with them again this year. And again, we set the parameters in terms of what we'd like to invest in on the digital ad spend. And when I say that, display ads, YouTube, things like that, for folks that are familiar with that. And again, we're working with this local group, again, who has a very good sense of who we are, what we're trying to do. The results of that engagement in 2024 were again very fruitful, significant spike in website traffic and things like that, which lends itself to the point. Sure, if you're investing in doing these things, you would expect that. So the next stage, after doing that digital spend is, okay, we're getting people to the website. What next? And so that's some of what we're thinking through this year. Again, both engaging with this group on our own, some dedicated SEO and AI optimization. Thinking through that, I think folks are probably aware what AI is doing to search, in particular Google. Anytime people are Googling now, you're seeing that AI summary underneath that, and are you going further, right? So the world is kind of changing in terms of how that all works, and it's good to have a local partner to kind of help us out through that. So that's the digital piece. The non-digital piece, one of the things we're focusing on is engaging with the state welcome centers. So I think folks are aware that they're where they're kind of positioned throughout the state. They have various programs. Some are paid, such as their brochure program, which we're looking at. They also have some things that cost nothing to us, which is getting into their display cases. So for anyone that's been in the welcome centers, obviously Hartford's the closest one. They have rotating display cases that cost nothing for us to exhibit items. And so last year we did Guilford as a starting point. That gets the highest amount of traffic by far. We're doing Guilford again this year, Hartford this year, Fairhaven this year, and also engaging with Randolph as well. So we're trying to incrementally each year add some stuff so we can do there. And again, in terms of trying to stretch your market budget dollar, that it's cost nothing other than us being creative in terms of the items that we actually put there. So that's one thing we're dedicating ourselves to this year, again, at no cost. The last thing I will say before I turn it over to Beth, and I didn't want to overlap intentionally, but the marketing committee, as you would imagine, there's some downtown committee objectives that overlap. And so certainly the marketing committee supports the promotional efforts of the downtown committee. So there is some overlap there. So that's all from me, and I'll turn it over to Beth.
Great. My name is Beth Culver. I am the Downtown Director for Windsor Improvement Corporation. I'm here to share how we used our funding in 2025, both from here and the Downtown Vibrancy Fund. And how continued support in 2026 will build on that momentum to benefit the downtown vitality, tourism, and community engagement. So I want to talk about our 2025 accomplishments in our fiscal year, which is a little different than the calendar year. We contributed over 250 volunteer hours, representing significant in-kind value alongside the town funding. We successfully planned and delivered a townwide community event on June 28th commemorating Lafayette's visit. This was not a single activity, it was a coordinated full-day celebration. We brought music and food vendors to Town Green and worked directly with the local restaurants to feature fresh-themed dishes, driving foot traffic throughout the day and supporting our local businesses. We also invested in the historic preservation and interpretation. We updated and funding the reprint of the historic Windsor walking tour brochure, which is now distributed to more than 15 local businesses and attractions. In partnership with the Old South Church, we restored the historic marker on their site, preserving an important piece of Windsor's story. We ran a community photo contest that generated over 90 resident submissions. These images weren't just engagement, they became assets used towards the Downtown Vibrancy Fund shared media goal. We further expanded Windsor's promotional tools by working with a local photographer to capture drone footage and create a professional highlight reel. We also developed and curated a gallery of over 45 photos and videos and a 24 to 72 hour visitor itinerary, which is now featured on our website, highlighting Windsor's businesses, culture, and attractions. Again, leveraging shared funding goals to maximize impact. Finally, our beautification committee continued its work providing free holiday lights to downtown businesses and maintaining summer planters. These efforts received strong community support and played a direct role in creating a welcoming and attractive downtown for residents and visitors. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about what we have planned for the upcoming year. So we are focusing on building upon that 2025 progress. That same itinerary I previously mentioned will be leveraged into statewide tourism marketing, including a partnership with the Vermont Department of Tourism. And they will be pursuing dedicated pages on vermontvacation.com for each of their designated downtowns. And we are also creating a Windsor brochure for distribution at the Vermont Welcome Centers, which Mike was just talking about. We are forming a community art committee with the first meeting scheduled later this month to bring residents together and add creative, visible enhancements to our town. We are planning a Vermont Symphony Orchestra ensemble performance at Old South Church, likely in March, providing high-quality cultural programming during a slower tourism season. Finally, we are working to improve the Welcome Center experience with historical display, a downtown map, and expand volunteer coverage, particularly on weekends aligned with train arrivals when the building is available. As you know, there's personal events there too. WIC constantly leverages town funding with volunteer time, partnerships, and grants to deliver measurable value. Continued funding allows us to build on proven success, strengthen downtown vitality, and ensure Windsor remains welcoming, vibrant, and economically resilient.
Thank you, Beth. One thing I neglected to mention when I was talking about Central and Maine, I think as folks know, there is land next to that WIC retains ownership of. So when a lot of the site work was being done, it was being done with the intention of development of that property as well. That includes the brownfield cleanup. So WIC has commissioned concept plans for that property for a mixed use development with a retail or business use on the bottom floor and housing above. Not nearly as big as the other building. Last week, whatever it was, the WIC board approved a request for qualifications that we will be sending out to area developers to see if we can find some dance partners to help us on that project and partner with us, possibly using the new CHIP program that launched recently to encourage housing development. And also looking at Jeffrey, I appreciate having Jeffrey on our board, and we're happy to answer any questions about WIC.
Brian?
Yeah, one of the comments I heard was measurable value. How would you determine what measurable value is for WIC?
So one of the things actually that Beth and I will be doing by the end of next week is submitting a report to the state as part of maintaining Windsor's downtown designation on the impact of how much money was invested in the community this past year. Obviously, Central and Main skews that, but it's not exclusively Central and Main. But you're into the millions of dollars that were invested in this community's downtown this past year. That's just in the downtown. It was a big year. You had two big projects I cited, both multi-million-dollar projects. Those don't happen every year. Those take years of cultivation, and sometimes they don't come together. So in a way, the sexy big stuff is just as important as small spade work stuff, that Beth has been talking about, and as well as us working collectively on how do we fill empty storefronts, how do we make sure the businesses we have remain viable and successful. We don't make widgets, Ryan, so it's not as simple as
API.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, just when I hear terms like measurable value, is that just a buzzword or is that something that you actually are able to back that
I think-
up? Is it, so with you wear two hats, right? You're the director of SRDC. Is most of this stuff that's happened really been SRDC pushing it, or?
all the above. All the above. And remember, 30 of the 50 goes to SRDC, as other towns contribute to us as well. So, but I'm not sure global heritage happens without us.
Which one's us? WIC or SRDC?
Without WIC. Without WIC owning the property, right? And being in position to put investment into the property that had been neglected for a long time because of the previous owner's inability to do that.
So last year you had a video made and you did ads with that?
Yes, so the consultant I mentioned we worked with, and even the person we worked with to shoot the video, cut them up into 15-second snippets. Part of what we're going to be doing again this year is recirculating them.
So, I mean, how many ads did you put out? Where did you put them? How many views?
I can send that information to the committee. I don't have it in front of me, but I can do that. Yeah.
You know how many visits you get to your website?
For a year, monthly, daily, I can send that to the group. Yeah.
Okay.
No question. You'd mentioned at the last meeting that the Banbury building was maybe going to receive some attention. Which building is that?
I think we're talking about the maintenance building,
Maintenance. building.
the one where that business is that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, I
The
thought
Danbury
you,
building is the large cinder block one that's
okay.
sitting. That's gonna.
What's that down in that area as well? Is that
So
part of
that's,
that?
if you drive through the property,
Okay,
you drive in, Quonset building, Quonset hut, we call
Right.
it, it's the big building with a unique roof. Keep going down, building straight ahead of you on the left is the maintenance building, which is the one I
Okay.
was speaking about, that's receiving.
Oh, okay.
The one
okay,
after that's the one that's used by Michael Bateman for his horse trailers, excuse my reach, Tom. And the one over on the right, the big cinder block one is a bit of purgatory. It's
Okay.
some contamination issues and some other things that need to be addressed.
okay.
So the maintenance building's gotten a lot of TLC this year. And some more to come, hopefully.
Ryan, is your hand back up?
It was, Tom asked the questions I was gonna ask. We talked a lot about spending money on videos and social media and website and stuff, but it didn't seem like we brought any of
Yeah,
that data.
Just to reiterate, Ryan, we've not spent money on the website. We built the website ourselves. This would just be to help optimize some of the SEO. So there was no cost to build the website.
Difficult hosting.
Right.
Minimal.
I have a question. Can you talk more about the proposed mixed-use building? You mentioned shops underneath. Will it be housing above, and what kind of housing?
So understanding this is all concept and a developer probably will have their own thoughts. So the plan, Jeffrey saw this a couple months ago from Tom, is to at least put something in front of them about what would fit on the site, what's consistent with town zoning, here are the regs for that property, here's what's been done, et cetera, et cetera. So conceptually, up to 10 to 12 housing units, and conceptually 2 to 3 business units. I
Housing units
think-
are market rate, right?
Correct, I gave that, yeah,
Yeah.
and the intent is that this would be market rate housing,
Thank you.
but, if I could wave a magic wand, great, but I think it takes a development partner with some resources to bring it. So that could change. We want to at least make an investment in something to give somebody an idea of what was possible.
You ready to move on? Or John?
I just had a question. I don't know that I heard Donna Sweeney correctly, but was Donna saying that the WIC is going to be handling the celebrations, if there are any, of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the state of Vermont? Is that the understanding of the select board, that WIC is the managing that? Just want to understand it.
Well, we've certainly been talking about it, and we've been talking right now about fixing up, doing something in the Welcome Center that gives it a scene of a historic Windsor right there at the Welcome Center until we get to 2027. But the idea that we would be working towards developing some kind of program and activities and celebration certainly is something I would be very much involved in working on, and I think would be a partner in that.
Yeah, I think, John, the conversation I've heard is that there's also the desire to make darn sure the Constitution House is back open.
Right, it should be back open by then.
Who runs the event is up to the community. I think we wants to support whatever's going on.
So the select board hasn't said this is, it's WIC, that you're saying your WIC is willing to do it, but it's nobody here from the select board, that this is something that they support and how they plan to have it implemented. At some point. I just didn't understand what I was hearing.
Well, I really think it's going to take the whole community to plan a successful endeavor, and hopefully the state will get the Constitution House back open by then.
I mean, we haven't even had a chance to think about it yet.
Yeah.
Select board, so.
I know,
it's
sorry,
on our radar, exactly.
I've had my hand raised to say I had no idea WIC was doing that, but that's exactly why WIC exists and why we do give WIC money, is because they are focusing on that kind of thing and thinking that far ahead. So like if we're wondering what the investment is worth, it's exactly what they're already doing. And my silly select board personhood, I had no idea, and I'm very happy that they're doing what they're doing and that we are supporting them. And that's what I would like to say about that. Hey, Donna.
Thank you.
Molly? Anybody? Okay,
Great, thank you.
thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
I brought walking tour brochures too. I was gonna ask if I could get one, so thank you. Thank you. I really want to have a look. Yeah, thank you.
Dan signed it at it?
I think so.
They were gonna be checking this out.
Yeah. I got all the edits from the historic Windsor, so.
Judy, when this book was made, there wasn't the sign up by the Stone Dam.
I know we added some, so I think we did. I don't remember specifically. But it puts it in. Judy led the edit procedures.
Okay, good.
Would you tell me one of those? And.
There's an extra one. It's not. Yeah, here, not a problem. And we have local businesses that have these.
That's what
Oh,
they
yeah.
said, yeah, I think they.
Do we know
said
which
like
business
seven-
it's gonna be?
Yeah,
Do you know which business?
even know exists.
I'm gonna look for them.
Businesses already have this, or are you having a printing and you're gonna give it out
No,
to the
we
businesses?
did already print the brochure, we printed 1,000 copies.
I found
We will
like
print
where
more as we go through them.
I never.
And yes, they're in area businesses. We got
Oh, yeah, they are, okay.
acrylic sign holders to hand out to the area businesses.
History teacher.
The library.
I can tell you some of them, Boston Dreams, Tammy's Headlines, the library. the Depot Shop Pizza Chef, American Precision Museum, Windsor Station, Bob's Barber, Lake Hill, Simon Pierce, Harpoon.
Nice.
I'm not sure if we got around to it, but we were gonna visit Cassie's in Georgetown. We took some up to Scutley as well. So, we can't get into the Holiday Inn because they use a grocery distribution company.
Yep.
Oh,
and
the
it costs
Holiday
quite a
Inn.
lot of money.
Excuse me. The Holiday Inn did take them. Judy took them up
They
there.
did. Oh,
She did.
excellent.
And I think they took them. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. That's great to hear.
Is this all you had? Like that you
No, we
brought?
got 1,000.
We got,
Oh, you got thousands.
I only grabbed the few that I had with me. I came straight from work to here, so I didn't have more than that. I could certainly get you more.
Are they also
Sorry, I
by
wasn't.
the train drop-off place?
The Welcome Center?
Yeah.
They're in the Welcome Center.
They're in the
Yeah,
Welcome
There's no covered, area to put them next to the train,
Yeah.
but they are in the Welcome Center, so they're there for people to take.
And in the future, this spring, we're going to take them up and give one to every legislator in
Great.
Montpelier
Very nice.
Good idea.
and invite them to Windsor.
I love that. Yay.
Yeah, ask them. They can even take the train down.
And
We'll have a
then I
party.
will say on the state level, the new representative that we're hiring is pushing for a downtown day to bring several downtowns to the State House to lobby for funding. And we're going to talk about putting together maybe a packet of things to get done. So I'm hoping to get the walking brochure into that packet. So ain't nothing decided, but those are the plans.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Drive safe. You too. Thank you.
I think we're on special event.
You are. So this all falls under development. And my feelings about WIC are, I think, well known to WIC and to the board. I would just point out the preparedness they had here, the information they didn't have, any on it. In your online and the history information's on the website. I didn't print this out for everybody. It's just some of the things it's in the packet online. It's a list of 15 events that the town does, from Autumn Moon to the concerts on the Common. Bullet point second to the last is the American 250. Riley's on it. There's ideas and stuff that she's putting together now. So, right.
We can reach out to Riley if we want to help.
Yeah, it's a little early for details, but she's reaching out to the different entities that
Awesome.
may participate in it. Will be a community-wide thing.
Yeah, it's pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is. So it'll run through Riley's office and WIC.
Good.
They want to help with that. It'll go that way, not the other. So if you want to read through the events, I think most of you know what most of them are. It's the Halloween contest for decorating houses, the lights that are downtown, and the ever expanding fun displays over the holidays. The Christmas light competitions that get put out. So there are little things like that. And then Autumn Moon, obviously, is the big one. So that all runs through Riley, James, Aldrich, and a cast of volunteers and town employees from the police, fire, and highway departments on the big things too. Just helping hands on some of the small ones. So if you want to know more about events, that's there. The next thing, communications and social media. Again, there's something on the website that talks about our website and social media. Since we put up the new website, we're seeing about 1,500 active users, 29,000 event counts, 55,100 views, 5,140 total page views. There's happy little charts that are in the online packet. There's also, I'll just read this one sentence. The performance reflects a strong first phase after launch. It's encouraging to see consistent usage across key areas like the document center, agenda center, and payments. And on this graph, it shows you what it would be typical for an account like ours. So we're about typical, a little bit above. The other side is a list of our social media postings. I gave examples of the November and December postings. We get a report every month from the person or company that manages that for us. We get between 75 and 85 posts a month. They are prime, I'm going to say 50 to 75% business, 25 to 50, depending on what's going on in town. Nonprofits or the library, church concerts, that kind of stuff. But when you see the Windsor Birthplace Vermont postings, that is paid for. We pay somebody to do that and keep up on it every month. And part of the reason, and I've gone back and forth with Wick about this, aside from just the ongoing budget pressures, is we pay $6,000 a year for that. And I ask all the time for them to give me some information on you're doing the exact same thing. You have a Facebook account, you have an Instagram account, you have a website account. How's it going? Why are we both doing the same thing? And the last I saw, I think they had around 350 followers on their Facebook page. We have 4,000. Now, Windsor Vermont Happenings has 11,000. It's got a different purpose and a different thing. And I also, when I check their pages, it's almost exclusively nonprofits, very little business focus. So that is like the driving reason behind is that if we're going to be paying $6,000 for that and we pay $3,000 a year or so for the website, let's not add to that cost or duplicating the service, demonstrate on why the duplication is effective. Are we hitting two different markets? That kind of thing. So again, more information in there if you're interested in seeing it.
Question, on the Facebook page for the town, even if my brain's a little fried, but how do you get information? Sometimes I see information for community dinner and I didn't even give it to anybody, which I'm grateful they have it on there, but it's like, how did they pull it? Where did they get it from? It's like, I've never sent anything there. I always do my own, event kind of things off of Facebook, right? So
that's part of the service. Full disclosure, Marco Vasquez is who manages for us. Marco lives in Metro New York. He's also a neighbor of mine. He owns the house next to me, and that's how we met. He's in this business. That's how he makes a living, is managing social media and web presence for clients down that way. So sometimes he just pulls things off the newsletter, for example.
Oh, okay.
But things like all the Boston Dream posts, the photos of the day, things that you don't know about, it's because he sits down and goes through however he does it to find out activities that are out there, aggregates them, schedules them. Like he's not sitting there every day doing it. He's got a schedule that shows it all. But that's part of the value in it. And I'm this is one of those vision things. It's $6,000 a year. Does anybody care? I mean, it's a positive thing. It's one way.
Right.
It's nothing negative is ever put out there. And when we put something out like, look, we're making the new ice skating thing on the Common, it'll get a whole lot of interaction. You put out something that's, get a fancy coffee at Boston Dreams, it gets a little. But I've also seen news organizations contact us because they saw something on the page. I'm not saying it's a critical thing. I'm just saying it's something that you really don't see as a board. You probably don't know that we're paying that much for it, but it happens and we do track whether or not we're getting value or not with our provider.
Do you know if that's kind of like, and you might not be able to answer this, standard for like a town asking someone to do that service for us? 6,000, that sounds like a lot to me, but I'm also not in business and I'm not out there working, so I don't know what things go for in certain realms.
We've been paying that for 4 years.
4 years.
We had to beat him down on the price. He said he wouldn't do it for less. That's him. I don't think it's standard, but I think when you get to bigger towns like Lebanon or Hanover, they have internal people that are social media as part of their communications thing.
Brian?
I think it's a waste. I don't think we're getting hardly any feedback on that. If you see the posts and stuff, there's like 25 likes on most of them. There's hardly interaction. It's very bland and there's no real interaction. It's the same thing over and over and over again. I think the $6
Ryan,
is a waste.
Are you talking about WIC or are you talking about the ones that the town contracts out?
I'm not even wasting my time talking about Wix page. They don't even have, Tom said they got 300 people on it, and get 2 interactions a year. But the town page, I think for $6,000, I'd rather pay Riley 2,500 or $3,000 and have her running social.
Is
media.
it just for Facebook page, the Facebook page?
Facebook and Instagram, but essentially, yeah.
I mean, have me be your little person for free. Like,
But what I'm,
it doesn't seem that hard. Like, why can't we have someone
social
possibly
media is-
internal? Like,
It's
they're
um,
really easy to run.
it's a lot
Put it
more
this
work
way.
though than you think. I mean, there's a lot of work to it, but I don't think we're getting the value for $6,000 a year. If you look at the interaction and stuff, it's like negligible.
as we know, you put clickbait on there, people will click and bait it. This is an information flow. And again, we're not looking to have interaction really much beyond the community. Obviously, there's people well beyond community, but that's where I'm saying it was an interest in the past. And I do believe it's one of those things where you go, well, wait a minute, I can do that. I do my own Facebook page. But how does the content get up there? If you know what you're doing, it probably doesn't take you very long.
Right.
If you don't know what you're doing, it can take you all day long.
Right.
One of my pet peeves with the WIC page that they're paying someone to do is their content is terrible. I mean, it's all the library's doing this and the Old South Church is having a meal and, the resource center is doing this. I mean, if they're the economic development engine, they're not reaching out to the businesses, finding out what they want to promote. What's your Christmas special? There's nothing like that. We don't go out there and make a strong effort to do that. We send the messages out, but it's like pulling teeth to get, content back in. But it's either you do it well or you don't do it. So Riley wants more money to do that kind of stuff. I'm not sure that's something that she wants to do. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, and I'm willing to go that way. But just say, hey, Wick, why don't you guys do it?
Well, I think it's interesting because I think, I'm no expert, but I think a lot of businesses, when they do they have their own Facebook page or their own website page and they just put everything on there. So we are duplicating. I think that's probably true. I mean, I don't have a nonprofit and I just do everything myself. I don't know that I'm getting that much more because it went on the Facebook. I've just noticed it there. I do Windsor happenings. That seems to reach the community where I need to go, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Ryan makes somewhat of a valid point there. I think a lot of businesses just do all that kind of stuff on their own. It's part of their plans or their nonprofits or whatever. As far as Wix, I don't know. I haven't gone on their site enough to even look,
What, just the iteration of this, going back, Wix budget used to be like $90,000. And then it got cut back. We brought all the promotional activity in-house between Bob Haight and Riley. So they were getting paid to do this. That's why this is the home for all of the events and for all of the social media. I've always questioned, why is the town spending anything to promote businesses? If you're not going to do it yourself, why is the taxpayer doing it? There's a valid reason for it. I believe there's a lot of interest in supporting our community businesses, but there's nobody else supporting our community businesses. Harpoon does a good job. Simon Pierce does a good job. The station puts things out. Boston Dreams puts some things out, but you have to follow all of those. So the idea was we'll aggregate what's going on in town. That's a Facebook page you can go to find out where the events are. It hits a different audience, a bigger audience than the newsletter, that kind of stuff. But it is a valid question to say, why are we spending money to do it?
Right.
Ryan?
I don't think it's that we're spending money. I just don't think that the return is there. And I think that we could get, $6,000 on a $7 million budget, and it's easy. But I think that there's, I use Riley as an example, but Caitlin or some of these folks, we have some good people in town that work for the town that you could throw them a stipend, they'd probably be pretty pumped about. I just think for the $6,000, we're not getting a lot of interaction. I think the concept and everything is great, and I think but it just doesn't seem like this guy's he loads a bunch of stuff up and has a bunch of generic photos and gets very little interaction. So when you say you're not looking, we don't need clickbait, but if you're going to do it, you want people to see and have traffic and stuff.
As
Anyway,
someone who does this kind of work also, I can tell you that what you're seeing is the aggregate of the time it takes, as Tom was trying to talk about, to get the information, and you guys are comparing it to a business, and you can't. Because a town website is the aggregate of everything in a town. A business is not the aggregate of things outside of themselves. This is everything outside of themselves. It takes a lot more effort to try to figure out what the heck is going on. Now, I will say if all he's doing is gleaming stuff that comes into the town's newsletter, maybe picking up some stuff from their Facebook page and putting it on, I don't know. But I would not want to burden any of the other town employees with dealing with this. I think it's either we pay somebody $6,000, which by the way is not that much money for doing this type of work. It goes for a lot more than that. But the point is that first off, they don't have the expertise. They're not going to have the time to go out and get all that information. And I think Riley is fairly filled up on a lot of the stuff we ask her to do. And I think adding one more thing would not be right. I would oppose that completely. And I would say at this point, you have to decide, do you want it or don't want it? Because I don't think there's anybody else that can spend the time unless they had the type of thing that I'm sure he does, where he can go and basically have a program that he can go and put in the criteria, scrape up the information it needs by doing a search and coming back with a list of, here's everything. That software isn't going to be available, and if it was, it would be expensive for the town to have. So it makes no sense. It's either we want to have it or we don't want to have it. That's how I look at it.
But Tom, you made it sound like we're duplicating things. So if we're already, like what Riley in the town, because it sounds like WIC is asking the community members to participate. They can't, it's not like just WIC that's doing it. They're going to want the community members to participate and make it big, right?
Make what big?
Like any event.
Oh, there's like, I don't know, 10 members on WIC.
So if we're already getting more likes and the information is already out there, why would we duplicate? And I don't know, I'm getting lost in this.
well,
But I'm just
I guess-
saying, like, it doesn't make sense to pay the money for duplicating.
My basic point is we're paying about $10,000 for social media between the website and the social media things. And I look at what WIC does for the money we give them. Bob Flint does a lot of behind the scenes work. He's worth every penny that goes to there. But outside of Bob, I don't see, I don't want to be overly harsh. It's nice that they water the flowers in the summertime. But I really don't see anything outside of that. I voice my frustrations pretty regularly at their meetings. They've been talking since October about putting together a mixer between the Rotary Club and WIC. They can't figure out how to do it. I mean, I put together 15 people at Silo last Thursday by calling up Silo and putting out an email, and everybody showed up.
Rotary has the same problem.
They're two of the same.
But you're a celebrity though, so there's a lot of pull there.
That's true. That is true. But they could be celebrities too. They just work harder at it. You know, you don't just become famous because you're good looking. Well, some do. I had to work. But yeah, it's the same thing like staff in the Welcome Center.
With
Most of-
volunteers,
with
what they were
volunteers.
talking about, right?
And there's,
So-
you know, Kay Carrier did it for years. She would go every day, track the numbers. I mean, it's not like it's no effort.
Right.
Many of the WIC members, they choose to be on it. They're retired. The train comes at noon. When the weather's better or whatever, pick whatever you want, go down there and hang out.
Mhm.
You know, one comment was we had to put together the training manual. And I'm thinking you have on your website the history and stuff in Windsor. You need a training manual before you can go. Wait, they're going to be mad when they get done. What? Well, I've said all this. So that's where my frustration is. It's been 15 years. I've had this speech over and over and over again. I don't see much happening there. Bob Flint does a lot. The Central Main building, but absolutely happened with Bob.
Right.
WIC could have it.
Yeah, but WIC had the property, right?
Right.
They did, but it was Bob Flint.
So what are you suggesting? That because WIC owns a lot of still owns a lot of property. So
I'm
do we have WIC? Are you saying we don't need WIC and just contribute to SRDC? If we did that, how do we resolve the issue with the properties that they still have and manage?
I would say not for this budget cycle, and this isn't a new issue, at least with me,
Right.
that I would say you could hire SRDC at whatever rate the town wants to pay. Move ownership, or even all it is, Bob Flint and 10 volunteers sitting in a room. Just give enough money for Bob Flint. And if they want to do other stuff, let them be like Rotary or the Lions Club or anybody else do other stuff. But there's no problem having an entity of WIC. There's a bit of a problem hearing, look at what we did. Really, how many go there? I don't know. Which is pretty typical. There was if anybody went to
Remember that
the,
video they spent the money on that they didn't do anything with?
they probably have a fair amount of it in the bank.
Well, I
No,
wondered what
video.
happened with the signage, that, you know, where they had this endeavor to help businesses increase their signs or get better signs. I wondered how much were the signs? How much did businesses get?
Nobody.
I hadn't even thought about that when they were here, but they didn't name that in one of their 2025
They offered it,
things.
and I'm not saying it's their fault, but no
Nobody-
signs.
Oh,
No signs were
nobody took
purchased.
advantage of it?
The Lafayette thing, well, they get 25,000 from the state, which is a relatively new program
Right.
that pays
I saw
for
that.
Beth Culver. So she's paid
Oh, okay.
to do downtown program things. And there's this downtown designation, which makes you eligible for tax credits. It's a good thing that Windsor's in the downtown thing. Oh, you made it. You going to ditch first?
Yeah,
I came down, I was going like 5 miles an hour down.
yeah.
Tom,
Um,
sorry, I keep running out.
deep is it now?
I just wonder, like, okay, with the social
Yeah,
media
it was-
part that we were discussing,
Well, like that how I went my case.
if we
So it's
didn't
not-
have it,
Oh, good.
what would be,
It would just be the town
Like, what
website,
would-
basically, is
Well,
your,
no, I just mean,
your
like, what-
facing to the community and everybody.
Yeah, you asked you, if you
Well,
took out
the
Windsor,
worst part,
Vermont.
would people
Yeah.
even really notice? Like, yeah, sometimes there's really cool things on it, but it's like very, it's not like it's something that's so often, it's very, so like once in a while, I'll be like, oh, that's so cool. So that was from the flood of 1959 or whatever. But it's, I just wonder if people would even notice,
It
like,
goes
what
back
would
to
be
Brian
like
and
real.
Question is audiences. Because right now we're starting to compare the assumptions of a single audience and it's not.
But,
So
and
the
like,
people who are going to go to look at Windsor happenings and that kind of stuff are people who are in Windsor, are close to us.
yeah,
The idea of the Birthplace of Vermont website and the same idea for what WIC is trying to do is they're not talking to them. That's not a concern of theirs. It shouldn't be. Their concern should be, what about the people that are in Connecticut deciding they're going to go in 2 weeks? Oh, here comes, they're on Facebook. Windsor, Vermont Birthplace Vermont page comes up and shows all the things that are happening. So we have to realize that's one aspect. The other aspect, you can't have enough web presence anyway. It doesn't matter that much, but what we need to know is, it would be important information from WIC, important information from what Marco's doing is, where are these people coming from? If it's all a shared audience just bouncing back and forth, that brings up a legitimate thing saying, well, first off, WIC supposedly it's not costing us and costing them anything. It's just advertisement out there, just like, you know, well, you decide to sit down on the Facebook page at Windsor and we say, was that really worth you doing that? It's like, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's another presence on the web. That's not a negative. It's a net positive. They have 400 other people that nobody else has. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So the question you have to get to is, where are we actually duplicating stuff? You guys are thinking of duplicating a website because they have a lot of the same information. The question is, are we duplicating the audience? Are we getting a new audience? That's where the value is. Marco's bringing in people that nothing else is bringing in. That's what it's to
but
find
bringing them in
people
for what? Like
to visit the town.
what is the town of Windsor actually getting out of having a Facebook and an
People
Instagram?
driving, deciding to get off the highway and come this way.
I'm going to challenge that the purpose of our presence is to provide a communication tool to the community.
To the community.
That it's not tourism. If tourism happens, that could. And Marco does things like partners with photo of the day people and he puts, that up and then whoever took the photo shares, so it spreads the number of likes and all that. But like there's, what, close to 12,000 followers on Windsor, Vermont happenings.
Right.
Like, I've been on Windsor, Vermont happenings maybe for 5 minutes of my life. That is a different page than Windsor Birthplace of Vermont. I will not comment on Facebook. So we post things on the town side. It's all one way. We have something we want to tell you. Somebody asks a question, what time is this? They never get an answer.
But that's not the way to run a social media thing, though. Can we not, I mean, we're getting in the weeds about a $6,000 social media thing. Like, I think the town should have social media, and maybe as a select board down the road, we give a little more guidance on how we want this, what we want out of social media. But I don't know how much longer we should spend getting this far down the weeds. I think the WIC question is a little more important than the social media, where we go with WIC, and can SRDC replace everything that WIC's doing? Tom, do you think? I mean, I'll try to hijack it, but I think we're going to spin our wheels.
SRDC does everything that WIC's doing.
And I mean, do you think it would make more sense just to, I mean, it seems to me like SRDC and what Bob has done has been very impactful. But if it wasn't Bob and there's some WIC, stuff's named WIC, but really it was Bob pushing the buttons. I don't know. I haven't been a fan of WIC really for my whole life. I don't know. I just think that it's a lot of hot air. And like even this question of, hey, how many visitors do you have at your website? And the guy can't answer the question. He's supposed to be the website guy. You say next budget cycle, but
I'm going to say that this is kind of like a false issue. The line in the budget says WIC. As Bob said, it was 50,000, 30 that went to SRDC. So I made it clear to them and that I was going to present reducing it to 40. Originally, I was reducing it to 30, which would be only. They can do with that money whatever they want. Generally, and they get the 25,000 from the state, and there's some bureaucratic value that Bob does the work to put together, like what he was talking about, how much economic impact did it all have. Bob does all that work. I don't know. I know Beth gets paid something. I don't know what. They also get all the rental income from the Goodyear, properties in a resource center. So they get all that coming in. So, and I don't know that they net out much on that. I mean, they're tired old buildings. So whatever you want to call it, you could change the title from WIC to SRDC. All the same things would happen. They would still have their meetings on the third Thursday at 7:30 in the morning. They would still talk about whatever they want to talk about, and Bob would do all the work. So I just put it out there. The first thing Donna said is don't cut our budget. I'm advocating for cutting the budget, and the reasons are, I think Bob does all the work. Our promotions budget is only $12,000 a year, and just the way Riley works, she has all the information for me. What did you do, Riley? Here's all the events we had. Here's the Marco gave me. We get those reports every month because we manage what we're doing because we're spending money. I never see that from them. So I just say, don't vote to put their money back in. Don't worry about anything else, and just stay on top of what they're doing versus.
I have a question about WIC. What actually is their, what are they? Are they a private corporation, or they're not part of the town, right? Or are they part of the town? I mean, I think I'd like to at least clarify.
They're a nonprofit, it's a standalone organization.
Okay.
Until they acquired the Goodyear property, the town was 100% of their funding. So, with Goodyear, and they own Goodyear, they own the house on Jarvis Street that the town now owns, because there were provisions at the time that it was very difficult for the town to acquire and divest itself of property. So that's why they played that.
So is it, in giving them money, why is it not appropriate to have some strings attached to the saying that we need quarterly reports? We'd like to know where you stand financially.
That has never had any traction.
Right, but then we don't have to give money if they don't want to give us reports. Is the kind of the way I look back on it. It's like, because right now we don't know what they have in their account. They could, who knows how much money's in there. They also were taking managing the house, right?
We get the monthly financial reports.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So we have all that where they're spending the money, all that kind of stuff. So, but that's Bob. Bob does all that work.
Right.
So the reason that we're not doing what you're asking is because as long as I've been here, there's been a board member on the board. As long as I've been there, I've voiced the same things. I've suggested we go from 30 to 50 to 90,000 a year and 90 to 70 to 50,000 a year. We brought the activities in-house. But frankly, if I didn't say anything and you heard the report they did, there was a whole bunch of lingo in there that I don't know what it means. Like, well, we got the AJRs and we're doing this kind of stuff. But then you say, okay, so how many? I don't know. That's how they are. So, but that has always been good enough. So
I didn't know 30,000 of that 50 went to the regional place until tonight.
So why can't
That's
you
the
cut it
first
even
thing.
more? And what's the max we have to give him for Bob, right?
you know, I would, it's not our business like they are a standalone thing. I would say we can talk internally about the arrangement with Bob and what he's getting paid. But the oversight of the Goodyear property it's much better than it used to be when it was owned by a different entity that was not friendly to the town. Bob Flint's corporation owns the, I call it the Vermont Cheese Building. It's where the stone leaf thing, like the financing for that was really convoluted. Intimately involved in getting Blake Hill here, intimately involved in getting Silo here, working with Terry McDonald and all that. Intimately involved in getting Central and Maine here. And if anybody went to the public forums that were the WIC things, you get there and they go, I don't like the shape of the windows. I don't like the color of that. That's not the nuts and bolts on why those things happen. Bob puts a lot of effort and it's got great connections with the state.
But I do see Beth Culvert coming up with this as being a positive. I mean, granted, things move really slowly. That's frustrating to me as well. But I do think eventually things get produced.
Wasn't this put out by though, originally from the Historical Society?
And that has been around since
and-
2011.
And then
I thought
just spent some money, is my understanding, they spent some money to print.
it was not a update. We had so many changes. So
Oh,
it
I
was
thought
like,
that-
So the Historical Windsor started this walking tours and they just reprinted these
Okay.
to get them
Right.
out. So they spent some money for the printing, but they didn't create this.
I didn't realize.
And with just background, that we did add a sign since it was originally done, like it was done in conjunction with all those blue and black signs that are around town.
Oh, yeah.
It does look like they added the last sign, but that was troublesome. We had hundreds of these sitting around because they cost, you have to pay $5. And I
Oh, someone's gonna
don't
pay.
charge them, just, go to the snap,
Yeah.
give them, well, they cost us this much money. So they sat around forever,
They said they have thousands.
they
They
have
say they have
1,000.
thousands.
And it's a fine thing. It's not a bad thing. I don't know what they cost, but maybe a little effort in promoting it digitally. Like all of the signs have QR codes. Did you know that? You can go up to it and it'll talk to you.
I did.
Okay.
So yeah, this isn't new. They just spent some money to publish them and print them out.
Did we do housing projects?
We can. We didn't.
Okay, that's what we're on.
So the update is we are now the proud owners of 1529 National and 38 Jarvis. The new houses are going to be delivered on, I believe, the 24th and the 27th of January. So we're thinking, I met with Mike Kamick of Valley Properties yesterday. Once we see them here and the story is they plop them down and they're turnkey, all the appliances and everything. But we'll see that. We'll make sure they're connected to the water and sewer and everything okay. But we started the dialogue about rental potential, sale potential. I told them that I think there's a strong interest in selling the Jarvis Street house. That helps us with some cash. I think I had mentioned there's a contingent sale down on Jarvis Street for a house that's nice, but not as nice as ours, and it's 160,000. Maybe we put the other houses on the market at 250, see what happens. New construction in a tight price point. There's challenges, and Mike was pretty upfront about over 2,000 a month in rent. It starts getting a little rarefied air.
Yeah.
But brand new construction with close proximity to blah, 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 you know, all the reasons that, you know, renting or owning, but one way or the other, be all right.
Emma?
When is the actual day and time that we will be making the decision on like the amount of rent for the property, and how often is that going to change? Like, do we do that once a year?
Isn't it going to be like a management company?
Yeah, I would, we'll take a vanilla scenario. We go to the property management company, we say, what is the market rate rent? He says, I think we can ask this much, and you decide whether you want to put utilities in it at a higher price or not utilities, and then it is. Now it's on a regular contract and it'll be annual increases like the rest of the rental market does. If rental market gets very saturated and we have to talk about reducing rent, you know, when the contract comes up or when a vacancy occurs, that's something that I would say the town manager works with the rental company. I have been pretty clear with the board and with River Valley that I don't support subsidizing the rent. I just think it's wrong to take taxpayer money. Some people are struggling already, and to say that we're going to take some of your money and help them pay their rent. But that's not my decision to make. If the board votes to say we want a rent that is similar to 80% of the area median household income,
Right,
affordability, something like that, then you go ahead and do it. But that's not the conversations I'm having.
And that's not the conversation we're having today.
No, I'm just saying the houses are going to show up, and before they go on the market, like the next meeting, we'll say the first meeting in February, we'll be ready to have a serious discussion.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Is there an opportunity for us to actually see what those look like inside and that kind of stuff? I mean, I'm just curious. Yeah, I'd just love to see what we're doing.
Yes, once they're here, my expectation would be to let the board know, arrange whatever the best way is to have, people go through it all at once or not. Do a Windsor on air thing saying, here, there's a house.
So cool.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see it. Thank you. We want to see it.
I'd invite the media, do an open house.
I've been talking to Adam Sullivan, about coming down there. So I just don't want it to blow off the side of the truck on its way over from New York.
Yeah.
And all this. So let's, we're talking
Get it settled.
weeks, for this to
I
happen.
don't want to flush the upstairs toilet and have it come out the sink. So it's a good idea to figure out what's going on.
No, and we have recently found out cold weather that the Jarvis Street house, it's elevated. So
Mhm.
there's exposed pipes that had heat tape on them, but the heat tape failed on one of the pipes. So the property management company took care of it. They billed WIC because they owed it at the time. But we're making sure things like that are addressed with these new connections and that everything works.
What's the other address, Tom? There's the 38 Jarvis, and what's the other one?
15 and 29 Nationals.
Did they change anything after the heat tape failed, or are they still relying on heat tape?
They said they're fixing it and they don't like having to go out there and do what they have to do. So I'm going to assume that they're fixing it properly.
Okay.
Another question, I'm meaning to look good and I haven't, but there is a vacant, there's a vacant lot that goes with 28 Jarvis. The story that I've heard multiple times is that back in the 70s or so, the town got a federal grant to knock down a bunch of houses on Jarvis Street. And part of the provision was you can never rebuild there again. It had to do with floodways and safety, fires, they all catch on fire at the same time. So I'm going to track that down to see if that's true. And then we can have a discussion on whether or not we want to keep that lot associated with that house, which makes it more valuable if you're going to sell it. Keep that lot, make it public space. Parking down there is tight, maybe that, or see if it's possible to put another house on the lot. Okay.
Yep.
Are we ready? No?
What?
Are we ready to move on to the administration?
We are. I am, like with this whole process this year, I'm on the one hand, I feel like I'm short timing it. On the other hand, I think I'm doing what needs to be done. The numbers, as I've said all along, are the same as they've always been. There's no new projects, no new people, no, there's a page here that shows you where the major cost drivers are, and all of them are pretty small. What I did for the town administration, there's the standard, what do these line items mean? Particular things that stand out is I have a pension plan contribution or a 401 contribution that the next manager will not have. They'll be in the so that line will go away, and the VP's line will be impacted by that Vermont municipal employees' retirement. So, the other thing is, for the last couple of years, we have not had an elected treasurer and we have not had an elected clerk. People have stepped up around election time when it helps with the clerk, but our charter allows for the select board to appoint the assistant clerk and the assistant treasurer. So that's where Riley is the assistant, and she's not elected, so she's accountable for her actions. The same thing with Tiffany. So that's how that's working out now. If anybody wants to run, they can. I would say you would do it for the love of town, not for the paycheck. And the last page, something to go over later, is I have all the positions and I have the people who are in up. Because I don't think a lot of people actually put the face to the name. They all do a lot of different things. We have a very strong department there. They're all cross-trained to cover each other to the basic function of the office. So Tiffany can be out, but Riley and Michelle, the assessor, can accept payments, find a dog license application, things like that. And then Riley and Tiffany know how to go to the assessor's office and do property cards and all of that kind of thing. So this kind of just lines that out. And that's where it is a little difficult to say, well, why don't you just have blank do more of that? That when you take what normally is the town clerk position, that is 35 hours a week, their offices are all closed on Friday. You're the town clerk. You're also doing all the event planning. You're also the on-point person for managing the website content. She's also the person when she's making town events for Facebook. She does all of that kind of stuff. Tiffany knows how to change things on the website. She's been, brought up to speed on that. Michelle does little things like the staff would drive me crazy. I used to own a janitorial company, and the way they would order paper supplies, how are you paying $80 a case for toilet paper? That should be $25, that kind of thing. So Michelle once a week takes inventory of all the paper supplies. She goes around, she finds the best price online. It all comes in. We never run out of stuff. We get complaints sometimes because the toilet paper is not good enough, but that's how life should be at work, right? So that's, if you have questions on it, you can, but it's more just a matter of reference and what do the staff do with their time while they're on. There's another thing, it's new, and I don't think we think much about it, but as you know, we do electronic payments. That's had a big impact on the traffic that comes through the office. So there's a page in there that says in fiscal 24, we did about 475,000 in transactions. And in 25, we did about 700,000 transactions. So there's a lot of business going through the online transactions. It does make a difference in the office. I know we get comments about the office isn't open on Friday, for example, or they don't always answer the phone. And I know they're not answering the phone is me. That my office rings to the administrative assistant number. That's Deb, who's in Kansas. Deb checks probably 10 times a day. But even when Deb was sitting in that office, she'd pick up the phone and answer it, but you wouldn't transfer it to me. My disposition is, if somebody wants to know something, tell me what it is so that I can get back to them with a competent answer, not blindsided by something or, we did that. So, but that just shows that that's another investment that seems to be working. Related to that, all the property records are online. So You can check out all your neighbors' valuations, and the real estate professionals can use that. All of our town clerk functions are online. So it's a dramatically different interaction than it was on that floor 10 years ago. Administration questions?
What are we paying for processing off the website? Is that inclusive in the, when you have the additional charge, or is there transaction fees also involved in that?
The user pays the transaction fee.
Right,
I think it's a flat $1.50 for ACH things,
right.
and it's like 2.8%. Whatever the credit card fee is gets added. Like if you pay your taxes online with your credit card, that's not the best move.
It's going to be 3% plus the transaction fee, but but for the service itself, do we pay a fee to whoever we're going to? They just live off the transaction fees?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then MyRec has its own online acceptance, and you can schedule sign up for classes on that. The ambulance has its own online credit card acceptance for ambulance service.
Okay.
Anything else? We'll move on to municipal insurance, and that covers all of our employee benefits, health, dental, life, that kind of thing. It also covers our liability and workers' comp insurance. The numbers are, again, what they are. I've included a page. Maybe I'll just the narrative. Between 23 and 27, overall employee costs grew quite a bit, increasing from around 925,000 to 1.4 million in 27, or 467,000, or 51% in 40 years. The growth reflects a mix of higher wages, benefits, retirement contributions, insurance costs, and shows that employee-related expenses have been one of the biggest contributors to overall budget growth. As an example, insurance costs rose notably in major areas. Liability, which is our property and casualty, increased from about 100,000 in 23 to 125 in 27. Workers' comp increased even more sharply from around 160 in 23 to 245 in 27, or 85,000 or 55%. Both became more expensive. Workers' comp grew much faster and became the main driver behind the increase in insurance costs. We get all of those through VLCT, or their passive insurance arms.
PLCT.
Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
So these raises are the same for all
Yeah.
cities and towns.
Yeah, I mean, the same formula is used, particularly workers' comp. You know, everybody's experience goes into the pool, but your particular experience can ding you quite a bit. One of my pet peeves about them is we've had, obviously not an inordinate number of workers' comp claims, but we've had some, and they're almost always in the police and fire for, they're doing dangerous work. But there seems very little appetite to confirm ongoing disabilities. We've had people on workers' comp for months and years. And it's kind of like, well, we're not paying for them. That's your insurance, or not us not paying for them. But I remember, like with my business, if I had somebody out on workers' comp, the workers' comp people like drive by their house sometime to see if they're out paying their house when they're telling you can't work. There's nothing like that. So if everybody's going that way, and it's just, well, we just take the experience and increase the rates, and take the experience and increase the rates. I think that's kind of what we're seeing.
And is there anything, it was the same in New York, in Long Island, there was a big expose at one point that there was a certain golf course in Long Island that was just, all the members were people on disability who said they couldn't walk, but they were playing golf there. Do you have any ideas of any pushback?
When I speak with my peers, there seems to be a shared frustration, but nobody has said, well, we're going to do something about it. I would say it just doesn't come up above water, that we're all thinking about what to do and what, we all don't know what to do. We complain to the LCT.
I mean, can select boards help by calling the insurance, by something that is not, it doesn't come back to you?
Oh, and that's what I think, maybe, it's kind of a nuance, but Vermont League of Cities and Towns is primarily for elected people. The Vermont Municipal and City Management Organization is for hired people, town managers. So I can do a little bit of work. You guys write to Ted Brady, the head of VLCT, and say, what do you do to make sure that our workers' comp rates are competitive and our costs are controlled, or something like that, and maybe do something about that.
Who's Ted? Can you say Ted Brady again?
Ted Brady, he is the executive director of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
How about our elected state legislators?
Not really. Unless you wanted to talk to them about like eliminating workers' comp in Vermont. Probably not.
But you don't think that they could poke around also?
I would say it may not be the best use of time to get a result.
If anybody doesn't object, I would be happy to poke around to make that, to be the one to make that comment, although I'm not on the board. But does anybody have an opinion?
I think it probably should be left up to the board. If you're contacting VLTC.
Might I
Sarah?
suggest, well, if you're
I don't know.
interested, draft something up. You can have Tara sign it as the chair, work together that way. It helps the load.
Yes.
Anything else on that little piece of business? I'll get my papers messed up. Somewhere in here.
Budget changes incorporated.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the healthcare because there's actually some good news there.
Yeah.
Think of it. Okay. So here's some good news, and it's part of the adjustments that I made in the budget. When we started putting together the budget, the guide we were getting is that the Blue Cross coverage was going to go up about 14%. When it finally settled, it went up 4%. So it not only helps us for next year, it helps us for this year because the premiums run on a calendar year. So our standard practice has been do the first 6 months of the fiscal year, July to December, using the actual rates that were provided at the time, and then we just add 10% for the second 6 months. So that's what we did for this year. So we added 10% for the second 6 months, but it's only going up 4%. So that's going to help us a little in this year's budget. And because our base number is going to be less for this year, we can reduce the expectation for next year. So that's part of the rationale there. But it's, let's see here. And I picked one plan, and again, this is on the online thing, and it's available to the community. For between 20 and 26, I took a 2-person silver plan. Premiums have gone up about $775 a month. Deductibles have gone up $1,600 a year, and out-of-pocket maximums have gone up $3,100. And that's some of the out-of-pockets and the deductibles are something that you kind of have to dig into things to find them. But the way our healthcare is structured is we pay a certain percentage of, we'll say 85% of the silver plan is the amount of money we provide. And then the employees can pick if they want the gold plan and pay more, or the silver plan and pay 15%, or pay the bronze plan, which it gets completely covered. So we don't tell them they have to take a certain plan. And they're all high deductible plans. So since before I've been here, the town has offered $4,400 to a single participant and $8,800 to two-person plus plans. And that has always been more than enough. The way we would budget it is to budget 50% of our total exposure, and it generally worked out. It's working out less, and we're spending more now, and it's because the out-of-pockets have been creeping up year after year after year. So more and more people are having to put out more money, even if they don't max out. So, and that was another one of the adjustments. We've been increasing it every year, but since the original budget, I've increased that again. But the increase in the out-of-pocket line item is offset by the decrease in the premium. And in the bigger picture from all of this is it's a lot of money in our budget. And I'm not going to say they're beyond our control, but in a tight labor market with a unionized labor force, there are certain things we need to do to remain competitive. And the board can certainly say we're more willing to accept staffing shortages or not. But the liability and workers' comp are things, we just get those bills. And it's another, like, so oftentimes you hear when budgets get tight, somebody will say, why can't we just flat fund everything? Or why can't we just reduce everything 5%? But when you take bond debt and you take insurance costs that you don't have a choice, I mean, you can reduce staff, that's what comes off. Those are the decisions you can make. You want to have fewer people. Labor is always there. But there's a lot in here that, my point is, there are different ways to do things, not a big opportunity to save a lot. Okay. I was confident. Okay. Oh, where's the budget? That's the one. Here we go. Okay. There's a page that looks like this. I think I made it for everybody. There are changes since last week. I added $10,000 to bunker gear that the chief was advocating for. I added $10,000 to training and recruitment that he was advocating for. We got a final invoice from the county judicial tax, so that increased $1,400. I increased the health insurance deductibles by $15,000, but I reduced the premiums by $15,000. So in all, the budget is $21,000 more this week than it was last week. That makes a 0.25% difference in taxation. On the next page is, I didn't go through every line item. I just took the bigger numbers. So budget changed a little bit more than this, but this covered just about everything. And payroll is contractual. We could let go people, and we are reducing staff for next year. You see the reserve fund that's increased. And you can read the rest of the expenses that are on here that they're reflecting like maintenance on buildings, dispatching contracts for the mowing. Lister training is kind of a big one, but the state's going through a process to professionalize the listers and make them certified assessors. Michelle's halfway there. She's very good, but she's going to have to take some training now. So it's kind of why, I don't know if I get too close to it or not, but it's a big tax increase, but the spending increase isn't there. It's because of revenue loss, which hopefully that comes back and the budget next year is very strong, but I wouldn't advocate for adding ambulance revenue. And I wouldn't advocate changing any of these things. I think with back-to-back deficit years, we don't want to do another one. With the management change, I don't want to set somebody up for failure. If he manages the budget well and there's extra money in it, it's not like you get a bonus for managing it. That way the town gets a bonus. But to find yourself in a very difficult position just because we underfunded intentionally line items like we've done for a couple of years. I don't think that's. Look at that now. So that is what's being proposed here is a fraction shy of a 10% increase. Okay, so that's a hard nut, and I don't think the school is going to be any better.
When do we find that part out?
I'll talk to Larry. Now here's why I hesitate. The school put out a thing the other day saying that the budget went from, we'll say 15.9 to 17.1, something like that. And that per pupil spending went up 14.5%. So I asked, how much did the budget go up? Don't just back off and say, back off. Don't be so mean on them. We'll have time later because I'd much rather you be mean on them than on me. But the knee-jerk response is, oh, their budget went up 14%. I said, well, if their budget was $1 million and they had 2 pupils in a school, what was their per pupil cost? They said $500,000. So if the next year they only had 1 pupil and their budget was still $1 million, what's per pupil cost? It would be $1 million. So their budget went up 100%. No, it didn't. The per pupil cost went up 100%. So that number that they showed was showing you what the per pupil, which is an important number because it goes into the state formula. They give you that number because they have a purpose for it. The actual spending on the budget went up right around 6.5%. So if you take the base budget, the dollar value up, so it's about that, which is ours is 5.8 or something like that, which we're all kind of in the same market for things. So I'll say I know we spend our money, but they're showing the same type of increases. So even knowing what the per pupil cost is and knowing what their spending increase is, they still have factors like average daily membership. So we're in a school district now. So the school district, if West Windsor sends more kids than they did last year as a percentage, ours are going to go down. And I think that's what happened the year we're in because they went up nothing and they increased the budget. Conversely, if Windsor sends more kids than they did in the past, you get the spending increase plus the average daily membership. You take that and you do the same thing with the supervision district, which has Weathersfield and Heartland in that category of costs, busing, cafeterias, I don't know that all. So I don't know, and I don't know that they know. And with the uncertainty that there has been where the state threw money into the education fund extra to help bring down the cost, I'll know by next week. I'll get Larry's best guess to know where that is, but it's going to be harsh. So I guess my final thing, and these documents are online, I'm going to say liars use statistics and statistics lie. I say it, but I mean, I'm above all that. So this reminds me of pick your president, Biden or Trump, telling you that everything's fine. You go, wait, I don't feel like everything's fine, but telling me I'm fine because I don't feel fine. That's where we are. There's a document in here that shows taxes and utility rates over the last 15 years. Coincidence or more since I've been. And tax bills have gone up an average of 3 points. You don't have them. That imprint.
Okay. I don't see that.
I didn't know if you want to get into all this. Yes. And you can talk about it next week. But what it says is taxes have gone up an average of 3.25% a year. Utilities have gone up an average of 1.97% a year. I'd say that's good. But then you look at the utilities and it went up 17% for the current year. So there's the whole statistics lie. And, a couple of years ago, we saw a 10% increase because the school budget went up so much. So, but if we're all in the mix together, it says that, yes, it's been painful, but I can say that if my job is to provide the services at a cost-effective rate that you all say you want, this would demonstrate that that happens. And I think it needs to be advocated. What I also did is I took my house and, our software will go back to 2008. So I had them pull up my property tax record since 2008. I've owned it since 2012. And what that shows is that property taxes over whatever that was, 11 years, have gone up 45.7%. Annual growth about 2.25. Inflation is 47%. So taxes have roughly gone up with inflation. Okay, well, my paycheck didn't go up with inflation. I'm on a fixed rate. That doesn't help me any. You can tell me whatever you want. Sure. The part that I found most encouraging, or at least more justifiable, and I don't know where, I put together this big voodoo package here. No, that's not this. Well, there's a different voodoo package. In this one, see, and I was yelling at Wick for being unprepared. 4 times I've taken every town in Windsor County, done their median house value, their total tax bill, their tax bill as a percentage of their property value. And in 2012, Windsor had the 14th highest tax bill out of the 24 towns. So we were right in the middle. Fiscal 25, we had the 21st highest tax bill out of 24. So as compared to our peers, we've dropped, I'd say, precipitously. When you factor in as well that most of the towns above us don't have anything. You know, they're like Heartland or Weathersfield, not to knock on them, but they don't have paid fire and paid police and a big rec department and all of that kind of stuff. You know, frankly, it would be disingenuous for me to take credit for that or the board, because a lot of that has to do with the education spending. As I mentioned early on, we only pay about 37% for the services that we get here. Other people pay, 2/3 of our bill. It doesn't help you when you struggle to pay it, but by every metric I could find, it looked to me like we're doing as good or better than our peers. And the final thing I did is a document saying, would you move to Tennessee for $2,000? And I took Windsor, Villas, New Jersey, where I happen to own a home, and Cooksville, Tennessee, that I don't know anything about. And I took their property taxes, their house values, their state income and sales tax. And because you always, I can't stay here. I'm going to move down south. That's where I'm going to go. And I put all that stuff together, put little pictures. I took the smallest houses I could find, a 900 square foot house in the Villas is 329,000. I found a 900 square foot house in Windsor for 200,000, and a 900 square foot house in Cooksville for 199,929, and put all the numbers in, and not counting things like the homestead rebate, because who knows, every state could have something like that, that you would net out saving $2,000 if you sold your house in Windsor and moved to Cooksville. You would get hurt if you moved to New Jersey. And I also picked New Jersey and Tennessee because Tennessee comes up a lot as a cheap place to live. Florida's got other voodoo, so I didn't want to get into that. They have utilities owned by the counties and stuff like that. And New Jersey is always cited as an expensive place. So the point there is we're competitive with at least 2 other cities in America. I don't know what the rest of them say, but what I'm attempting to do, 2 things: instill confidence in the value that the taxpayers are getting so that you can advocate for that. But also, if people are not happy, it's not here. It's one of the big things about Tennessee being cheaper, right, wrong, or indifferent, is the average cost per student there is about $11,000, and here it's 18 to 20, depending on the number you want to use. And the data that I was saying is that this isn't because they don't care about education. The state of Tennessee has a different approach to what they expect the education system to do and how it's funded. So that's it. I'm not right, wrong, or indifferent. It's a state policy. So if you're unhappy about your state education or your state tax bill, which makes up half of ours, don't talk to the school because their budget goes up 6% and the taxes go up 19%. Talk to the state people. If you're unhappy about what it costs to live here in general, what the sales tax is, what the income tax is, that's a state issue, not a town issue. If you're happy about being here, or if you don't think our rec department's doing well, or you don't think the roads are plowed right, or you don't think you're getting a value for your tax dollar, then you come to me or have them come to you and say, I want you to do your job and do it better. But since the day I started here, I said, values where I'm going. And as I'm going out the door, I'm not moving to Tennessee for $2,000. I like it here. My soapbox is open.
Pertaining to your soapbox, the only thing, the interesting thing I see is if you feel your taxes are too high and you want to stay in Windsor and you want to sell your house, you can't buy a lower priced house in Windsor to save money on your taxes.
You can't downsize.
You can't downsize.
That's
There
my
are,
point. You can't sell your house and stay here.
right?
You really can't sell your house and go somewhere else either.
No,
I mean, if you happen to own your house free and clear and you cash out and you want to, rent instead and put the money in the bank and earn a little money to offset your rent. I mean, there's always options like that. But the idea, the knee-jerk reaction to say, I can't afford my taxes here, I'm leaving. Well, it may be very true you can't afford your taxes here, but I think you're going to be hard pressed to find a place where it will be meaningfully different in your life.
maybe a 10.
Yeah. I would say that for most people, some in Windsor, it would be a equal trade, but for many people, that would be downsizing too much.
I have a piece of property in the cemetery, but it's kind of small.
Sublet.
Speaking of ADUs, is there any conversation like that? Do people rent? Do many people in town have rental units in their houses that they live in?
The short answer is some. But since we recently did the revaluation, we have a good idea of the inventory. I mean, you can put an apartment in your house and we wouldn't know it. But the state's been pushing that as a way to increase housing stock. And we've had 3 houses take out apartments in the last year. They didn't want to deal with the landlord-tenant issues.
Yeah.
Again, state policy about what you can. It's one thing to have a tenant and he isn't paying that lives on the other side of town. It's another one that lives on the other side of your living room wall. And the other thing is, and I don't have any data to back this up, but if you have a lot big enough to build onto, you bought that because you wanted the room. And then when you say, well, you got to get that up and then you got to spend $300 or whatever it is, $300 to $400 a square foot to build something so that you can get $1,500 a month rent, you have to have a pretty long-term view that that's going to work out for you. So I know there's little success stories here and there, but in the aggregate, for a long time, they've been needing, I think it's 10,000 new houses in the Upper Valley by 2030, and we're building like 500 a year, so it's not working.
Yeah.
And most of the development is on New Hampshire. So that's going to fix that though, right? Planning Commission, new town plan.
Oh, yeah. I think you're spot on with the ADUs. When they brought that up, I didn't see that that's the way to go. I think the biggest problem we have is paying people to hold on to the land and not develop it. And the housing solutions have to come from building more neighborhoods and towns. And they're not going to come from somebody adding a little single bedroom apartment. It's just not going to happen that way. So the big push is hopefully the state will finally wake up and realize that the best way for Windsor to solve our problems with housing is to let go of the prison, get rid of all the trash they put there. I look at it like reclamation from mining. You have a mining company come in and they dig up all the land and everything. They can't just drive and just leave it and there's a pile of trash left there. They have to put it back the way they found it. And that's really the obligation of the state, should put it back in a way that the town can do something with it. And finally just turn it over. If they'd done that, when did they actually close the prison? Like 15, 20 years ago, something like that?
2017.
Right?
That's not their mission though.
Oh, I know that, but they're
That was 8
hypocrites
years
because now they realize we need housing, and we could have had housing there 10 years ago.
There was a push before I got here to take some of when it was 900 acres, to turn that over to the town for housing development. That went nowhere.
Right.
And again, I mean, even with the survey that was in town, there's not this universal feeling that should be housing. There should be more housing. That there are people that I live here because I like looking out and seeing trees.
Right.
And I don't care about the taxes.
That's true.
And I don't care. I want value, but I don't care about, if it goes up a little bit, it's worth it to me. And not to overplay this, to this point in this little propaganda piece, you can't see it, but this is density in New Jersey. Okay. This is density in Windsor. Can you see the difference from where you are? This is 183 people a square mile. This is 2,400 people a square mile. And Tennessee is 1,000 people a square mile. So, but even that doesn't, it solves everything. Like our utility bill in New Jersey is $580 a year. It's $1,200 here. But there are more connections in 2 blocks of our house in New Jersey than there are in Windsor. But in Tennessee, it's $900. And that house has a $140 a month HOA fee. So there isn't like a silver bullet that, like, everything's got its nuances. And people will live in Tennessee because they don't want to be cold. People will live in Vermont because they like the trees. People live in New Jersey, you got to wonder. So anyway,
At least it's not Pennsylvania.
is there bad things about that?
It's just,
Oh, no, I don't.
get down to all this country.
On a serious note, I did give everybody a copy of the proposed warning. Almost everything is, the outside agency. Probably is a good starting thing. The ones that we're going to have to vote separately on next week are the bond questions and the budget question, which is a budget of this much money supported by that much in taxes, which is the total budget less outside of revenue. It doesn't set a tax rate. That doesn't happen until July. As I said, when I originally presented it, I strongly urge you to support putting the bond questions on. Doesn't hurt to have access to the money, doesn't cost anything until you vote to do it. And I think it'll be a helpful tool moving forward, depending on what the mood of the community is. So,
And that's Article 10, correct? For the bond of $1,500,000.
Yeah. That is Article 10.
oh yeah, there's a change this year. Riley went to a state training thing on how to run an annual meeting. And we have always had the big money questions, the budget and stuff at the bottom. And I find every moment of town meeting super engaging, but sometimes people get tired of going through all of those other articles to wait to hear the budget. So the state suggested put those questions further up. So
I like that.
That's how that out is.
I like it.
So what about move?
What about new?
I don't see a separate article for move. We never talked about them with the budget side of it.
We don't really get to talk about them.
It's on 18,
Did I miss it?
Article 18.
Article 18.
Okay, well,
They're asking for 20,000.
last year we all,
Have people been using it?
didn't we give move 50,000 last year?
No.
I think it was 20,000 last
I
year,
think they need money every year to continue going.
but I think it was
First year was like whether it's just passed through or.
it was a pilot.
No, I got that. I just thought that
But I think
there-
we did 20 last year.
You did.
Yeah, I think that was the
But
same.
that wasn't a separate article. That was something that the town.
No, it was just like,
It was like.
That was a separate article.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Tom, do we know how many rides moved?
We'll probably find out in town meeting.
yes.
We did last year.
They'll give a
They had
report.
all of that.
All of them
Town
should have
meeting
a
day, they
report.
usually have a rep.
Yeah, they gave it last year, like they told us like exactly how many people,
Okay.
and that was very informative.
I really hope that Rachel's Kitchen has somebody come to town meeting.
I hope
to
so,
speak for them,
too.
because last year,
We've never got to talk
somebody
to them.
else spoke for them from another nonprofit that didn't really even know them, but spoke up for them because of food insecurities, type of issues. So I hope
I also
Earl,
think.
that you come to town meeting
Yeah, I think if
day
you're
and
asking,
explain,
I think if
because
you're asking for money on any of these, you should be there to answer questions because the public comes, we come. That's when you have a chance. So when's the last time that someone from Rachel's Kitchen did come to town meeting? You remember?
and it was double last year what they asked. They went from 5,000 to
Yeah.
10,000 for the first time last year and nobody was there.
Yeah,
So I hope
and now they're,
someone
they're still asking for 10,000.
Well, and
I
the
would
next-
like to know the numbers.
The next item on the agenda is having the select board vote to put things, outside agencies on. There are two ways for those who are new. The old way used to be you had to collect so many petition signatures every year. I think it was around 130-ish, something like that. And if you collect the petitions, there's nothing the select board can do to bring out the ballot. There have always been a couple of exceptions, Windsor on Air and the Cemetery Association come to mind, that they would just petition the board and the board put them on. During COVID, when getting signatures was more problematic, there was a lot of requests to forego the petitioning process. Once that passed, there were different points of view. There are those who say everything is so good and it's so hard, nobody should have to get petitions. The other side is you should have to do something. And Riley, had a good story. The people from Sevka didn't know what they had to do. And so a gentleman from Sevka went out and did it old school, knocking on doors. And he said it was the most gratifying thing. He went out, he was able to meet people, explain why that they were still in town and this is what we do. And I think a lot of people hold on to that theoretical of democracy, I guess, to say, sure, advocate your position, give me the information so that I can decide whether or not I want to support you or not.
He came to my house. It was before, I think, Christmas, maybe even before Thanksgiving. And I thought, well, this is really strange. Sure, I'll sign the petition. I had you sign it. And I said, I've never seen anybody from Sevka go out door to door. And he was very nice and chatty to tell people. I thought that was great.
And it's a pet peeve for Riley because she deals with people when they're too late. Well, I didn't know, it's too hard. I forgot. I'm new for this. I didn't know. We have had organizations that qualified and got voted in and didn't collect the money because they've had changes in their organization. And Riley will tell people, go to On a Moon Festival, go to Election Day in November or in March, for next year and collect. It's not that hard if you're organized, and people can't do it. So she's got a particular something stuck in her craw because it's a lot. It's 213,000. It's 6 to 7 cents on the tax for everything. And now the library is on there, and the Cemetery Association is on there, and the mover is on there. But there's really none of them can tell you. Not that they can't tell you what they do. They come up and they say, we provided $100 million worth of service for $189 and everybody in town benefits. But anyway, so where we are now, every 5 years, organizations have to get a petition or petition the board, like Windsor on Air, cannot. So because it was 5 years ago, a lot of them came up this year, had to get petitions. The other time they have to get petitions is if they ask for more money. So all of the people who get petitions, the board doesn't have a say on whether or not they go on the ballot. The rest of them have to come to the board, and there's a list here that say, do you support, will you allow them to be on the ballot? And the typical conversation is, well, all we're doing is put them on the ballot. And then the other side of that conversation is, well, everybody votes for everything on the ballot. So, so that's a failure of democracy. I mean, I don't know if it's, you pick whether it's your role to, be the brake on that, or, whatever you do.
So what, you have a list of places that want to be on the ballot but didn't do the petition.
They didn't have to.
So then it's up to the select board if it goes on the ballot.
Right. There's the category of, you got to collect petitions. And either you forgot, you couldn't get enough signatures, or like in the case of Windsor on Air, you really do a lot of work for the town. So why is the board going to make them get things?
Yeah.
So there's those. Then there are the ones who have to get petitions because either they haven't been on before, or they're asking for more money, or it's been more than 5 years since they got a petition.
That list is the one you're.
This list here, this long one here, are people that did not have to get petitions because they didn't raise their fee, and they got petitions within the last 5 years.
Okay.
So they come to the board, and the board can say yes, no, or you could say we vote for the whole slate.
I think we say this every year, or I've heard it, that I still don't think that people realize, and maybe the total you said for this, all these on the referendum is what,
213,000.
215,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's not something that's in our budget. So if everybody votes on this, the town has to come up with $215,000 extra in order for everything you vote on to be reconciled. And I don't think people realize.
Everything, yeah, and everything gets voted yes.
And
Most of the time, that's been my experience.
I don't think it's fair to assume that the only reason they get approved, and I'm not saying you're doing this, is because people don't know. I think.
Well, no, it's because all of it sounds good. You're like, oh, yeah, you deserve that. But then it's when like we talk to people and they're like, oh, wait, so I thought that was included in the budget. No,
Right.
That's extra.
Well, it's been like the year Jill Lord put 5,000 on for the resource center.
Yeah.
And what's it for? The resource center. What? Then, I got into it with somebody because they were saying it's for the, anyway, the fact that there's a question there, even, Riley and I were talking today about if different organizations would work together and put like 2 or 3 requests on the same petition page, they could have a whole bunch, they could have only 2 signatures on a page and have a whole bunch of people get it. We can't coordinate, which makes you wonder, can they coordinate their services? And I'm not throwing rocks at people, but are all the services provided? Do they overlap? Do they not? Do they not do anything? The only one that I know does a great job is the community nurse. And I think that's reflected because there was like 1,000 signatures turned in, a really lot of signatures. There were a lot of signatures.
I actually didn't know how many signatures there were. I was kind of staying quiet on this.
1,000 was a bit of an exaggeration, but I think that's a second example of people who are passionate about the service, and they went out and they did the advocacy and collected the signatures and explained to people why it was important and got a lot of signatures. So for board members, well, I want to next week, like right now is when you tell me you want to change the budget. And then you vote if you want to say, take 100,000 out, put 50,000 in. I don't want to buy new tires, whatever.
When do we put those on?
This is next. Like, I just want to close out the budget section. It's like, and I had a number of questions, like, what are we going to do? And we haven't talked a lot about numbers because I don't think there's a lot of numbers to talk about. If you want to change what the tax burden is on the people, you have to change the services in town. I thought we had some good conversations about recreation fees, about emergency response needs. Those are the policy things we're talking about. And you only have a few months to figure out if I'm all just full of hot air and that we're doing it for the right price, because the next person can come in and do it for half. I don't know, but at least for me, this is the best price to provide those services that the community says they want. But if you're not comfortable with advocating for that kind of tax increase, tell me now. And every $38,000 reduces it a penny. So you gotta go like 75,000 to reduce it 1%.
What is the percent that you actually think it's going to go up if we keep
The
Is
market,
it somewhere in here that I missed?
it's at the bottom of the budget. It's been there every month, every week.
So we've had a lot of
The
information.
marketing is 9.95%.
10%.
Okay.
That is the worst case because the grand list will grow ever so little, so it'll probably be more like 9.25,
Mhm.
9.4,
Excluding the school part.
excluding the school.
Right.
So like last year, it went up 10% because we primarily put 200,000 into the reserves that weren't there before. But the school was flat. So the town saw an overall tax increase of about 5%.
You say we may or may not know by next week what the school increase is going to be?
I will give you as much information. I'll call Larry and Larry will not give me an exact answer, but he'll give me what he thinks is going to happen.
Is he pretty accurate?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Last year, he was proactive in reaching out and saying, hey, Tom, the budget's not going up. It's going to be flat. I haven't heard that. So, and
That's scary.
Fine. Yeah.
and if I called him, I got to tell him, well, the tone's 100%. So I was kind of keeping my power.
Nobody wants to call anybody.
But I'll find out. But,
So from what I'm seeing, Tom, if for some reason we have to make some changes, i.e. the budget doesn't pass. Use my same speech I use every year at the time that we're at the point to vote. Where would you be finding some changes? The capital reserve, we added 50,000 total, 200,000 is going into it. That's certainly, I mean, I think it's important that we keep that funded if we can keep it funded that way, but because we didn't know we have expenses coming. But on the other hand, you know, I would imagine that would be a place that we'd have to shave some. I mean, what is the contingency plan if the voters say no?
I'm not being a smart guy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do
You
a
are.
better job advocating for it, put the same budget out. I've done that before and that has potential. Let's say we get 400 or 500 voters. And you go, wow, nobody was there. And that happened in a vote that I had where I came from. We had a very low turnout and it failed 2-1.
Mhm.
And we put the exact same budget out. We did one mailing a week that went to every household with facts about the budget. And we had 3 times the turnout and it passed 2-1. So that depends on how much you believe in the budget. Like that was a utility budget that our backs were against the wall and there really wasn't an option. I have concerns because I'm not going to be here. If I was going to be here, then I'd say, roll the dice. Don't put money in the reserves. That's the only way that you're going to make a meaningful difference because I don't think people care if it's 8% instead of 10%.
Right.
And then lop off somebody from all the departments. Save another couple $100,000 that way.
Can we afford to do that again though? Like shave off from the?
It would be a bad idea.
Could be a bad
We had
idea,
already
but
discussed
but if it's
that,
voted
and
down, you have to shave something.
I think we'll cross that bridge if and when
So-
we get there.
And the reason, you know, I would prioritize the money cut is because if you cut the money, you can cross your fingers and try to put it back the next year. If you cut the people, that could have ripple effects because now the people left behind are doing the same job. Now you're starting to have staffing problems. Now you have service problems. And if you get leadership changes, it may take several cycles to bring all of that if it comes back. I mean, it's not like budgets haven't failed before. It's not Armageddon, but this isn't like we really need to build a new town hall. So you gotta, support a $5 million. It's just, this is business as usual. My point has been outside influence are providing all of the pressure for any increases. Everything has gone up by inflation rates or less compared to our peers. That the number seems to be defensible if you want to look around and see what everybody else is doing, but it's not defensible if people can't pay. And even on that point, when my taxes are too high, went from 60-something% to 50%. But I'm more concerned about priorities. That tells me there are people certainly not happy about the tax bill they're paying and some that can't pay it. But there are also other people who are saying, I'm paying a pretty fair amount and I want it to work. So I think with advocacy, I'm not concerned about it not passing, but I do think it will require advocacy.
How would you suggest we do that, start that?
In the time between next week when it gets voted on, and town meeting, I would say use whatever social networks you have. I'm saying I've given some information. Use it if you want. Don't use it if you want. Come up with your own rationale, whatever. But this is just the frame of mind I've been in while I've been putting the budget together. We can do some Windsor on air things together if you have parts of the budget that you are more passionate than others, and we sit down and have a conversation for 10 or 15 minutes and, you know, pull all of that out. You know, we were talking about social media, and I really don't like Windsor, Vermont happenings. I don't like the stuff that goes on over there.
Same.
But with 12,000 people, it's a different community. Like there's crossover that read the newsletter and go to the town Facebook page, but there's a bigger community over there. I'm just not going to get engaged in the back and forth, but I think that gets information out. You may have seen, I put out a couple things about the homestead rebate.
Yeah.
That was good. It got several thousand interactions. Okay. And I did one that said, here's where all your taxes go. Here's another one. Here's some examples. So I will continue to do that with bites of information. I'll see if I can put out special budget newsletters to do 2 newsletters a week. You know,
I've noticed.
That was good. That was well done. Thank you.
I know, I saw it and I was like, he did it.
Yeah,
He did it.
you just went out and did it.
no, I didn't. I would have sat at home and not done
I did.
anything, but you gave me
They
some
said I was sitting
direction.
on my couch and went, you did
I
it.
am here at the behest of what you want done. Although I know I'm authoritarian and I have a short fuse and I get very sarcastic with people who don't agree with me, I still like to think that I do what you asked me to do. So I will continue to do that. But can be a two-edged sword. Just because you believe it doesn't mean you go, well, how could you argue? I've given you all the research. I hate that. The research is not the research. There's some research. There's research that supports everything. So people can push back. And that's why I'm saying, you don't vote for it, you got to vote your conscience. But if you want to know why the budget is this, and if you want to say, we should give tax breaks to the elderly, well, we're not allowed to. Here's some information. Go advocate for the people that could change that. If you want to move to Tennessee, well, feel free. But here's what I know about that. Your taxes have gone up exponentially. Well, that's bad, but I live here in town and I don't have that experience. But in the last few years, it has really spiked for utility bills and property taxes. So the feeling is much different, particularly for people who may not have been here quite as long. All they've seen is
Increase.
an increase in the mess of COVID and all.
So maybe we should be careful about how much more we're adding on to, the town.
Well, so again, you do what you want, but I mean, it's 200,000, but 100,000 is the library. I would
Okay.
suggest you don't cut the library.
No.
And 20,000 is the mover, and right, wrong, or indifferent. That's a very public service. They could have 1,000 rides and it could be the same person riding it all day long for all I know. You know, people do seem to appreciate.
They're already on here.
But that's what I'm saying, but
Yeah,
you could say, well, we're not going to do that one. Or we're not going to do the cemetery association, but that one right there will come after you.
I got you.
She knows where we all.
So all of the ones that you have over there are on here. On the town meeting.
Yeah, the assumption was you pass them, but that doesn't mean,
I just wanted to, okay.
Riley
so
has
I've seen them all.
fingers.
I was like, what am I?
but I don't know what the public health council is. I don't know what Rachel.
Hold on.
With 10 grand. I don't know what senior solutions is.
Where is it?
Article 15 for $3,000.
Public Health Council.
Improve
Upper Valley.
vaccines and improve access to services.
What number was the public health?
15.
Oh,
I think,
Don't we already have free flu vaccine?
but I think, Mary, didn't Public Health Council
I
come
think
to
they did.
community dinners and.
no,
They did.
no, but they came, I swear, somebody came to the town meeting last year and
They
she
run all
said
the
they were,
community nurses,
I,
but not.
they also, I thought, he said they were part of like New Hampshire and this town and this town. And all these towns give them money. And it's like, she didn't, if it's the person I'm thinking of, she didn't like say specifically, what do you do in Windsor for that money?
Are they an
Um,
ungovernmental,
I don't know who it was.
non-government
The
organization?
Public Health Council of the Upper
So they
Valley.
do things for the whole Upper Valley
Right.
through shared public health initiatives.
I'm pretty sure they came and spoke at the community dinner. We moved out of that box.
I would want to know, like,
You mean?
I would want to know where.
Yeah, yeah.
The spiritual meal thing?
No.
No.
I
I
White River.
can I
just don't
pull you in a
recall.
little bit? You can either vote for the slate, you can go down individually
Okay.
and vote it up, vote it down, vote to change the amount. So if I say, I need a motion to support HCRS at 4637.
Wait, we can change the amount.
Yeah. Don't get all, worked up.
No.
$100.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, like things, I don't know.
I mean, $3,000, I don't know how much that adds really to the budget, but I just
Well,
don't,
I was just thinking for something like Rachel's Kitchen, like if they're not gonna come and say why they need, like, we put it back down to 5,000, like, I don't even know.
How about this? How about this?
Just trying to think of possible ways.
I have
Money.
questions for Rachel's Kitchen.
I do too.
And that's the
And I don't think we're
problem.
gonna get them.
Well, someone could
Well,
come to.
If
to the
you want
meeting.
to, I'll do, there's two things. Riley will come to you probably over the summer sometime, or maybe in the spring. And right now, what the town policy is for collecting signatures is the determination that you want to be on the ballot has to happen by December 31st.
Mhm.
So let's say the board says, no, we don't want to put you on. That's too late for them to get signatures. Like right now, if you say no, they can't, like,
Yeah.
they're not going to be. able to.
Right.
So Riley's making sure it's allowable, but to move the policy to say, you need to come before us, say the last meeting of October, the first meeting in November. You say, hey, if that's how it's going to be, we're not going to support you. You're going to have to go get the petitions. And then that gives them an amount of time to go out and do what they need to do. So there's a certain amount of kind of changing the rules at the last minute, just because it's not changing the rule, but nobody's ever done this. It's not going to make a meaningful difference in the tax rate,
Yep.
but I would say that you hold them accountable. We can have Rachel's Kitchen come to the next select board meeting or
Yeah.
something like that. Or if there's others that you want to hear from.
I was thinking about trying to reach out to the person in Rachel's Kitchen and just ask. like,
I
would
could
you mind-
do that.
Can you?
Yes,
Will
because
you?
I emailed him,
Say that
yes,
the-
and say that
The
you
board-
really need to have someone represent a town meeting and speak for you guys, because last year there were questions
Yeah.
about your numbers and how you do things, and nobody was there. So I would certainly be able to reach out to Earl Deal.
That would be great.
And
So-
I'm not saying don't do this,
I
but
think should be
people would
like
at least
a
vote
lot
yes.
amount of
Special
time.
needs.
Hold on.
Make a mover to there to get free breakfast. They go to the library and stay warm all day. Don't they?
That might be the one
Yeah.
I was trying to find because that's.
I think that's reasonable to have someone to speak for their money. Earl Deal.
Thanks, Smiley. One more meeting and it's over.
I know, it's just, I haven't even.
Someone who has
You'd all be.
special services, special needs, it's interacting with like. Pretty.
And what is this? What are you
The one,
referring to?
special needs support
Special
center
needs.
20.
What number is that one?
20, I believe. Talk about our
Yeah, what's the
Oh.
special needs?
Oh,
support center of
I think, don't hold me totally to this, but I think they supply needs for special needs, but also neurodivergent children.
That's the one I'm thinking about. too.
Okay.
And I think that's their title,
That's it.
but I'm not positive.
And their request was 4,000 last year. It's reduced to 1,600.
Oh, it was 4,000.
Oh,
Wow.
Do you guys think that we should just vote it as a slate?
I suggest,
Voting it as a slate?
I suggest writing it as a slate,
Okay.
but hopefully,
How do you feel? Just do it as a slate?
yeah, if we know anybody has any connections to any of these people or know anybody at these things, maybe reach out and just say, hey, it would be really nice for you to come to town meeting and, you know, in case people had questions.
And I think that you should really remember to address this issue earlier. I agree with you guys looking at it as a slate because it's, in all fairness,
Yeah,
now is
it's
not the
not,
time
no,
to make that
Right.
decision. It, as Tom was pointing out, it should have been made months ago as to how you're going to do that. Pulling the rug out of anybody, just, you know, it's,
I don't think we're even suggesting that.
well, if you were going to take some people off.
I don't think we were really that serious
I
about
was
that.
thinking.
I was thinking Rachel's Kitchen was on the precipice of.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I want
I
to
could see
hear
it,
from
Peter.
them.
Yes, I do.
And
I
then
think
this,
the whole board.
this is the 5-year anniversary of the policy. So it just hasn't come up for the prior 5 years.
Right.
So good time to revisit it this spring.
Okay,
So
so we can,
need a
Do it as a
motion to
slate.
approve ballot access for the town meeting 26 for the following organizations provided by the Town of Windsor 2022 funding request policy. And the organizations are listed with a total of $97,237.
I'll make the motion based on what you read, because it's in front of you.
I'll second it.
is there any discussion? Mary?
Oh, yay, we lost our other two members.
Aye.
Because we have a quorum.
And with that, it passed.
And then just for clarity and in the minutes, the total amount of appropriations with that passing will be $213,320.10. Who asked for 10 cents?
I know, right? All right, in old business, town manager search update, we actually have an update today. The recruitment brochure is finished. It's going to be on the town website on Friday, and then you will see official ads on Monday.
Is it going to be added, the public works to the flyer? Because I saw that too today. That was one thing I saw.
So questionable,
It should be.
yeah,
I'm gonna say,
it might,
probably Don didn't get back today because
Yep.
he'd have to change the formatting, which isn't a big deal. I would classify that as not a big deal. No one's gonna not apply
Yep.
because, well, I wouldn't be the public works director or not apply because that comes in. I think it's better to have it in it, but if it means a meaningful delay in the ad going out.
Yep.
Oh,
Well, then how are we going to communicate that? Are you going to ask for that? Are you going to
It's already been
communicate?
asked.
Oh, to Dominic? Okay.
Yeah, it was put out to Dominic and he did not respond.
So you just
before
don't
the
know
meeting.
what his answer is. at
Right,
this
I'm
point.
just assuming he's not gonna say, okay, I'll do it, and then say, okay, I did it. He'll just
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
I've updated it, so.
any public comments for items not on the agenda? Do we have orders to sign tonight, Tom?
Do.
I'll make a motion to sign orders.
I guess.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Mary, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we can sign order. Mary, do you have a board member comment?
Not really. It was it's been a lot of information for this budget season, and I hope a lot of people in town watch the meetings at least so they can be informed and understand a little bit better of what we're all facing. And other than that, thank you to the budget committee for coming out on a snowy.
Has it stopped snowing?
Can't snow.
It was not snowing when I.
Oh, that's good.
You came.
That's good.
Thank you to the budget committee. It's all I've got for today. Jeffrey?
This was my.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 8:51.